believe that until my existence is validated by others. But that's
Well,
okay.
I see someone who looks like us up there.
Yeah, I can see myself. But much like toddlers, dogs, and cats, when they see their reflection, I often think, who is that? Hello, Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. This is our weekly live stream while we record our podcast. We are here 12 minutes early. If you arrive after this starts, but before I put in timestamps, fast forward about 12 minutes if you don't like the random idle chit chat. If you are here live and you don't like the random idle chit chat, you have time to make a meal and sit down and eat it and then come back. It's okay. Yeah, that's all I got. Okay, I can say hi to folks. Hi, Sassy Vanessa. Hi, Computer King. Hi, Rara. Hi, Ian. Hi, Missy. Hi, Lanny Mac. Hi, Anissa. Hello. 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 And this is the moment I realized we forgot to do something that we need to settle after this live stream.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, to correct from our problem from last week. During the stream.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. That's on the to-do list, and I didn't to-do that list item.
All right.
Sorry, y'all.
I'm going to let you do the talk before the talk.
Okay.
And I got to step away for a moment. I will be right back. Excuse me, folks.
Did you know that before you hit the go live button?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't. Otherwise, I would have done it prior.
Okay. Hello. Is it... I do not want to script your name. Is it... Gija? Gigi? Hi, but please tell me how to say your name. Hi, Mr. Spock. We are here 10 minutes early. We are on such a roll today. I don't know what's happened, but we managed to still have time to completely eat lunch before streaming. I'm kind of impressed with us. I usually don't get a full lunch. The sad thing is my stomach might be like, oh, I would like to make myself heard while I digest. I apologize for that in advance. Before going live, we recorded 2 videos. We recorded 2 mini podcast audio only episodes. I dropped one kid off at school and picked another one up from school. We've done some stuff. Hi. So, and now like this afternoon, like most of my to-do list for the day is already done. I have some stuff to do, but not that much. And somebody is currently speaking my crafter's language and is like, hi, tonight, would you like to go to Michael's? And I'm like, yes, I would. I almost said no, though. But yes, I
noticed there was a hesitation. I was surprised at that.
Because I had a plan in my head for how I envisioned that going. And so my first instinct was to say no, because that was outside my plan. I don't do spontaneity.
Constructed expectations.
Hi, Silent Wing. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, like, I map it out in my head. I plan it out perfectly, seamlessly in my mind of how it should go. And then any deviation from that, like, throws me off. But, hey, I bent a little bit.
You did acquiesce, yeah.
Yeah, I did. Hi, Shasta. Yeah. Aw, thanks.
Thank you.
I hear this with our podcast episodes and now with our YouTube videos. I am grateful for folks who are willing to binge our content. I also apologize because this is a voice. I know. I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. What do we got for butt rub stuff? Oh, we're wearing special shirts today. Mine says Daddy's Baby Girl. And yours says DD. This was the first shirt we ever got. You had cat and dog hair on you.
Of course I do.
And this one, you can go outside and wear it and people barely even... Giga, thank you. Giga, I can do that. And that was the very first shirt. This one we ordered ages later. They're both from Kinky Cloth. The links are in the description box. And there's a coupon code if you shop from Kinky Cloth. But yeah, they're comfy too. This one is like an exact perfect fit. Like it's a large and there's not a lot of extra room. That's on me. I'm pushing the edge of what it means to be a large in some clothing, but it's really soft. Yours has washed and worn fairly well. So
it has. Yeah.
Okay. You know, Rara, I don't think about the progression that often until I start doing things where I go back to what, I need to link to something or I need to reference something we said before. And then I'm like, wow, it's a whole different world.
Yeah. Come a long way from the closet.
That's very true. Alexis, you are absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I am starting to see some progression with our video content. I still and a lot. It's as most people do. I am getting better at sort of slowing down and trying to think through what I want to say, and or remembering I can edit out on short videos stuff I didn't mean to say it that way, and I can repeat myself. So,
well, hello everybody and welcome.
Yes, we are here super early.
Yeah.
We don't know what to do with ourselves when we get ready early.
I know.
So instead of sitting around twiddling our thumbs at our own desks, we come twiddle our thumbs with y'all. We're still 6 minutes out. We've had meowing cats in the background. I'm not sure if Ella's lovely singing voice made it into a video earlier, but she's not alone. The Onyx is out in the living room with her, and the 16-year-old's home. So I don't know what she's, crying about, but I don't know if she'll do that again for this one.
I don't know. I know Lola did snore through one of the videos.
Because that's what she does.
Right.
Yeah. She may snore through this one. She is in her crate, which is next to where we record. Her face is in one of her blankies, and she's trying to sleep.
Yeah.
But you can tell she's also listening.
Yeah.
So.
Got one ear half up, so,
She's aware.
Yeah.
Very aware of her surroundings. What else? I don't got nothing.
Nothing?
I don't know what that was, but it was a struggle.
Yeah, I've been doing some exciting stuff. I've been trying to clean my phone off.
I have to do that. I told myself I was going to do that yesterday. I have to be careful because I end up taking video at random times of seemingly random things, and then they become a reel on Instagram, and so I'm like, do I need that?
Yeah.
Do I want to keep that?
I realized I had pictures on there going back at least a year, pictures and video, because I have pictures for some of the first pictures took of Onyx.
I have pictures from our wedding on my phone.
Oh, gosh. Wow.
Now, do I have folders where I can store those things? Yes. Do I open up my photos app or whatever to look at any of those photos on my phone? No. Have I ever had to share one of those photos from my phone? No. But they're there. A Lola cam? Yeah. That would be cool. We do have the webcam.
We do.
You just have to hook it up through OBS.
Yeah.
And do whatever technological magic that is.
I might have to tinker with that.
Thank
you
for the ideas. So, okay, I have to say this. This means nothing to anybody but me. So yes, my roots are growing in, and I'm allowing it. And I'll probably get my hair cut in a couple of months because I plan to get it. I have a thing in mind, and I'm trying to let it all grow out because I want to cut the color out all at once. But when I look at the camera and the screen, the view screen thing, it looks silvery, grayish, whatever. But the way you have the light turned dimmed on the monitor to try to reduce the glare in our glasses, it looks like blonde highlights.
Yeah.
I wish it looked like blonde highlights to everybody else.
The magic of...
This, I have to say, is a journey. I still don't know how I feel about this particular journey, but we're on it. We're on it. I mean, there is a part of me that's like, what if I get so used to seeing my natural hair color, I never go back to having it colored again? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I haven't noticed it much until recently.
I notice it every time I see my reflection. I should have asked you for help. I don't know why I didn't, because sometimes I'm stubbornly independent. I was trying to see, because my gray and my silver all grow in up front, and I know that, and it's been that way for years and years. And I've always been told, usually by my hair stylist, that it's all dark back here. Well, I tried to take some pictures of my roots, and mostly just took pictures of like every part of the bathroom and every part of my head but where I was aiming for. But I think there's some silver coming in back there too, kind of thick.
Haven't looked in the back, but you know.
Yeah, the growing it out drives me bonkers. I hate it. I like how it looks. I hate how it feels. Like there's like a sensory thing or something with hair around my ears and hair down my neck and just the thickness of it. So it's like I recognize it looks not bad, but I hate how it feels. I hate how it feels. I want it cut short and off of all of those parts of me so bad. Because the alternative is to grow it out until I can have a ponytail, but that just means that I'm shedding worse than the dog and the cats combined.
Oh, goodness.
Do you recall?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you did not complain. I was like, I think I'm going to cut my hair short. How do you feel about that? And you're like, will it reduce the shedding? Will it reduce the clogged drains? I'm like, yeah, actually it will. Okay, I'm good with that.
Either that or I have to start brushing you daily.
I mean, that just sounds sexy and kinky. So, go for it. I don't know.
I give the dog a little brush in the morning when I wake her up. And
so when
belly rubs.
Does that mean you'll come wake me up and give me a little brush and I don't want a belly rub, a butt rub. I'm here for this treatment. I am not unhappy about the idea of it at all. Not at all. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'm good with that. We could do that. I would be happy to consent to that.
Okay.
Well, look, it is practically noon. We are like seconds away from it, so let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
Our topic for today, I was trying to play within YouTube's rules because they did not like when I used the word BDSM for some odd reason. We found an article that discussed the idea of mindfulness and meditation and BDSM. And it actually cited some small studies that have been done. So that was kind of interesting. We thought, let's talk about it. This is an interesting concept in the article that we found was also interesting. So that's our topic today. If at any point you're interested in the article, it's linked in the description box. I also, in the article, they linked to a study that is referenced a few times in the article. I actually just went ahead and linked to the study itself in the description box if you care. And what else? Oh, if you enjoy this, if you enjoy the video, we like a thumbs up. If I haven't scared you away yet, and you're not already, please consider subscribing.
And once you subscribe, ring that notification bell so you get updates and new content.
Just, yeah, whatever. And if you somehow want to encourage us to keep doing this, I don't know why you would, and want some special perks you can't get anywhere else, like access to a Discord server, you can join us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/KaylaLords. Link is in the description box. It is always in the description box. I think that's it. So if you would like to hit your magic button,
Okay.
We will bring the audio recording side of this
All
in.
right, here we go.
So I feel like I should get a cookie for this because I've been a brave little girl. There's no announcements.
What?
I got nothing to promote, hawk, sell, encourage, or beg for. I mean, do I? Yes. Am I going to? No.
Who are you and what have you done with my announcement-driven baby girl?
I don't know. Well, we're about to get into like serious holiday season is coming. There'll be a coupon code, a sale, and offer us something. I figure we could all use the break. So this, as we already discussed, today's topic, mindfulness, meditation, BDSM. Reminder, everything that I discuss and reference, including the article this discussion is from, linked in all the places. So I want to start with the thing that kind of threw me off, which is this very interesting article came from Mashable, which is like a BuzzFeed-esque, Cosmo-esque, like they're trying to be in that intersection of pop culture and also listicles and buy these things because it's an article filled with nothing but affiliate links, which I'm not hating on them. I respect the game. It's fine. Yeah, so that was the first fascinating thing. It came out back in March, and I've had it bookmarked since because I went, oh, we've got to have this conversation because the headline grabbed me, and it was BDSM and meditation are more connected than you'd think. Now, the more connected than you'd think, I think, is really for the people who are not into kink and have never actually done anything with it, because I think that even if you have not gotten to some of the top space and subspace that we often talk about and is referenced in this article, I think you kind of can already have had the experience of a BDSM experience, whether it's a kink scene or being very deep in your power exchange, not just being a surface level, like these are just some things we do, of it being something that you become deeply connected to, which tends to happen with anything that's related to mindfulness or meditation. But as for the meditation side of things, oh, thank you for that. I just realized what you did. I know from personal experience that there are times where we're doing something kinky, and it becomes a very meditative thing from my perspective.
Yeah.
Especially if it's rhythmic and you stick with the rhythm. Like if you do a flogging and you find a pace and an intensity and you kind of stay there, partly to deal with any pain that's coming through so that I don't like hold on to it, it doesn't hurt in a bad way and it feels good, and partly to try to embrace the experience and be present in the experience, because I have one of those minds that wants to go to my to-do list even when I'm getting kinky. I try to just sort of take deep breaths and just notice the sensation and the rhythm. The times that experience is hardest is when you change the pace, the rhythm, the intensity, and you're playing and you're trying to get reactions from me instead of just the act of doing the thing. And what's funny is that experience that I know I have, and it's not one that I think about all the time or come back to a lot, I just know I have it, is absolutely tied to a lot of what was said in this article, because it is a level of mindfulness in a technical sense, if we're going to define mindfulness, technically speaking, which they did. I took so many notes. I was like,
Wow.
So first I'm going out of order on my notes. So this is going to be more chaotic than it would have been otherwise. So in the article, they say that mindfulness, in the way that we think of it attached to meditation and being in the moment, is comprised of, they say, 5 skills: observing, describing, acting with awareness, non-judgment, and non-reactivity to your inner experience. And in the example I just gave, where when you're in a rhythm and I can get into that rhythm with you, I react, but I react with pleasurable sighs, or I react with, ooh, this feels good. Or when you check in for a color, I'm like, oh yeah, green. And that's when it's sort of meditative and I'm in the moment and I'm going with sort of the flow of it. When you change the pace up, I can't be in that moment and all 5 of these skills, because I'm going to have a reaction, and there's going to be a judgment there of, ow, that hurts. No, I don't like that. Oh my gosh, he's doing that to hear me scream or to watch me dance on my toes. And so I'm having a good time, but I'm not necessarily having the same kind of mindfulness moment. I have to cough. Hold on.
Okay.
Trying not to cough into the microphone. So I thought that was fascinating in and of itself. But what the whole point of this kind of article was not just the fact that, oh yeah, there's meditative qualities to BDSM and there's mindfulness qualities to it. Some of us are going, yeah, I know. It was the fact that somebody actually studied this. They wanted to sort of answer that question. Now, it is a small sample size. It hasn't been replicated. So is it a perfect study? No, but hey, anytime somebody wants to empirically and in as an objective way as possible study BDSM, I'm freaking here for it. In the article, they talk to and cite heavily from Kara Dunkley. They're a clinical psychologist from the Sexual Health Laboratory at the University of British Columbia. They purposely studied BDSM and mindfulness. And what they noticed was that the group that practiced BDSM scored higher on most traits associated with everyday mindfulness, which is different than the kind where you go off to a quiet room and maybe there's some music in the background and you your way through it. That's okay if that's what you do, but there's what they called everyday mindfulness, which is bringing present moment awareness to ordinary tasks rather than the formal meditation. Okay. So like you're in a kink sense, you're hitting me with the flogger and I'm like, that flogger feels this way. Here comes another strike. Wow, my skin is, and I'm not, my mind's not wandering. And I guess the study was that by being into kink and practicing certain levels of mindfulness, whether we're aware of what we're doing or not, we then, that kind of also translates into other parts of our life as well.
Gotcha.
Do you, based on how they defined mindfulness, do you have memories of or experiences that you're like, yeah, I was having something like that, but from like the Dom perspective?
Yeah, and also something of a more personal perspective. When you first sent me the article, and I opened the email that you sent, and you told me what it was, I hadn't even read the article yet, but I was like,
I know, it's already confirmation bias. Yeah, that is true. That headline is true.
This works. I can definitely see the correlation. And let me explain this on a little bit more of a personal note for myself. A number of years ago, the healthcare company that provided the insurance where I worked, they were quite aware that I had been back and forth to the doctor a number of times for my back. And they sent me an invitation for joining this group of mindfulness meditation for pain. Yeah, I'll try it, check it out. And I loved it. It was based on the fact that through meditation, you can manage chronic pain.
Which they referenced in this article.
Yes. All right. And I am so glad I went through that. It was an amazing course. I learned so much. The meditations were amazing, and they did help me. Now, I have what I have come to term a certain normal level of discomfort with my back. I always have some small level of pain. Now, over the years, when we have engaged in doing scenes, whether it's dungeon, whether it's at home, I become so focused on what we are doing in our scene together, how things are interacting and playing out, that level of discomfort that I always have dissipates. I do not notice it anymore.
Because your focus is elsewhere.
Because my focus is so intently put somewhere else.
Which that makes sense in a non-kink way. I have noticed recently I can work through headaches, sinus pressure, early parts of migraines before they get debilitating if I'm deeply engaged and focused in what I'm doing. And that's in a very vanilla aspect. If I'm sitting at my computer working on something, I will not notice the pain until I stop and I kind of come back to my own self-awareness.
Right.
And then I almost think it feels worse at that point because it almost hits you all at once. So you're like, wait, I was just working under a lot of relief here. I did not feel this. But that does make sense to me from a kink perspective too.
And more so in the kink aspect, I have, over the years, I have talked more so to the fact that I have said numerous times that when we are in a scene, especially in the dungeon with the music, the people, that all that fades away. The periphery around where we are playing disappears, and everything, I become hyper focused on what is going on between you and I.
Which they touched on that in the article as
Yes.
well. Which reading this was such a joy.
It was.
Because I was like, I see myself, I see myself, I see myself. Yes. And so, yeah, I definitely do
see and understand that on
Yeah.
several levels.
We might not, I mean, if you're not somebody who walks around thinking about mindfulness and you don't meditate in a formal way and you just don't think about that stuff like that, it's not necessarily a conscious thought that you're having of, oh, that scene I just had was very meditative. But I think you recognize yourself in it when you start thinking about the experience you have versus how mindfulness and meditativeness get described and explained. So several things you said were also referenced in the article. I'm going to try and go back in order. So the one on chronic pain I thought was really interesting. And they noted, I think partly in the study and partly like other people they talked to in this article, that the meditative aspect of BDSM, whether that is through dom space, top space, or subspace, which they did talk about a bit in this article, that was also kind of fascinating, is very similar to what people with chronic pain who learn about mindfulness and meditation go through, which is that you develop the skill of noticing, accepting, and then letting go of negative emotions we typically associate with pain. And in that explanation, they're really talking about the bottom or the submissive who is on the receiving end and may be experiencing pain or other unpleasant sensation from the scene. And that is an example of the meditative aspect. The other side of that, though, is where you talk about how you focus and everything else falls away. So in kink, we call that top space or dom space, but outside of kink, that experience is universal to people who focus and are present in the moment with the thing they're focusing on. In the athletic world, it's typically called in the zone.
Yeah.
In work models, it's called a creative work models especially, it's called that flow state. All else falls away and you focus in on this thing that you're doing, and you almost embody and you're deep in the thing that you do,
but
and you don't notice
each and every case, it is a form of mindfulness.
Absolutely.
It's a form
it's all
of
the same thing.
It's a form of being in the moment.
And I think that being in the moment, that flow state, occurs regardless of which side of the slash you are. And even outside of the whole kink scene, like I said, they spent a lot of time talking about bottoms and receiving pain, and they used pain as the main example in this piece. And then towards the end, there was like 2 sentences were like, but it's not just pain. I was like, oh, okay. No duh. But I think of it in terms of whether it's been in a scene or just part of a thing we're doing, when I'm very much in a submissive state of mind. I'm not in subspace. I'm not floating, which they do. The people in the article, the experts or whatever, were saying that what we describe as subspace is not dissimilar to what people who do meditation for spiritual purposes and who find their own floaty feeling. It's kind of the same thing, just like top space is being in the zone or being in a flow state. But I can get sometimes, it's been a while, but I can get to a flow state kind of thing by being just very submissive and it not being about floating. So I remember scenes, they weren't very, like, there wasn't a lot of activity, but like I was holding my body in a position. I was waiting for you. Like you had me like maybe kneeling on the ground, or you had me sitting still or whatever. Usually eyes down, and you weren't talking and I wasn't talking, and I was supposed to sit there in silence and wait for you. And there's that moment for me where it's tough, where I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? And I'm not mindful. I'm very aware of everything outside of myself. And then there have been times where I've slipped into that sort of zone area, and I'm aware of my breath, and I'm aware of my body, and time stops or stands still for a little bit. And, I feel as submissive and small and, all of those things I want to feel as I ever do. And it's not floaty, and it's not part of this. It's part of the scene, but it's another aspect of mindfulness and meditativeness that is not floating at all. It's more like what you're describing of everything else falls away. It's just me in this moment. I do not get there all the time. I actually get there quite rarely. When I do, it's wonderful. It's coming out of it is a little bit like coming out of a dream-like state. You're like, oh, this is what the real world feels like. Okay. I tend to be super relaxed after that. I also tend to be kind of sleepy after that. And I know you've talked about when you come out of your flow state in top space, you're usually energized.
I'm usually energized. I put you to bed and
I know, it's delightful.
I tuck you in and I'm off doing my thing.
Yeah. So another part of this article is they were talking about the bottoms experience, and they were talking about subspace a bit. But this stood out to me as well. They said bottoms must be very aware of their own internal experiences and emotional states and their moment-to-moment response during a BDSM activity and to physical sensations, because they need to differentiate between safe pain and pain that could be indicative of real harm. And I'm over here going, yes, that is absolutely right. It never occurred to me to think of that awareness as a form of mindfulness. And I think of it as I gotta be here in the moment so I can keep my damn self safe. Is how I'm thinking of it.
And in line with that, there was a comment made in the article about how the tops are viewed as guides.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't highlight that.
Okay.
No, I didn't highlight that.
Because basically the top is guiding you through that sensory journey.
Yes.
And the mindfulness of the top comes in because, have to be very aware of, again, you have to be aware of the receiving of good pain or bad pain. And my job is to deliver the good pain and not the bad.
Right. And the quote that I came from, I think this is right before the part you're referencing, they say tops must be externally attentive to the emotional and physical responses of the bottom through very controlled focus and consciously adjusting their actions accordingly to keep it pleasurable. It is a bit of the give and take of, in this case, we're primarily talking about scenes, but I think it's equally true in Power Exchange, where I have to be present enough in my body to be able to say, that went well and that didn't. This needs to adjust. That's good. That's bad. Oh, also breathe. Remember to breathe. And you have to be aware enough to, one, hear me give some level of feedback.
Sure.
And also to adjust if you're getting subtle signs and cues instead of even just less overt ones. And so we're in a state of being present in the moment, but it's also a connected state. Like one is not, we're not fully independent of one another in that moment because we're feeding off of each other. We are communicating sometimes without words to one another based on what we're seeing, what we're doing, what we're feeling. And so you can't have one without the other.
Right. And I know
you can, but
I know for myself. I mean, I love hearing the good sounds that you make. All right.
But as a sadist, your idea of good sound is sometimes different than my idea of good sound.
Well,
just saying.
Yeah.
Pointing that out there.
But that being said, all right. I mean, I'm also listening to the sounds you're making because I pretty much know the sounds you make for the things you like and the sounds you make for things that shouldn't be.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And the same thing with your body language.
And that comes from having been together long enough.
Sure.
Like, you don't start on your first day playing like that. You have to use a lot of, you're actually a little, you're mindful on one level, but you're less mindful on another because you have to check in. You have to ask. You can't, some people maybe can, but it is rare to be able to literally just flow completely and never once have to break that to go, hey, are we good here? Is this working okay? Because you don't know sometimes what the sounds mean, especially in BDSM, because one person's no, stop that is another person's please don't fucking stop at all.
Right. And
if there's in any part of you some uncertainty about that, you can't just take that on faith until you have learned that about the person you're playing with. So some of that, not all of it, but some of that mindfulness comes later as you learn each other. Some of it can happen right off the bat. For me, the perfect example is anytime you do something that's not too overwhelming, or you've built up from not overwhelming at all and built up to that really intense, there's a lot of sensation going on, and you've done it gradually. But if there feels like a rhythm to it for me, then
Right.
I can fall into a certain level of that. It's not unlike my experience with figuring out that while I struggle with the sort of mental meditation of sit quietly, notice your thoughts, but let them go kind of thing, I can do very physical activities, not very physical, but I can do physical activities, and those feel meditative. Part of the reason I really enjoy cross stitch, it's just a bunch of X's. Okay, I just have to know how to count to 10. It's fine. Is because if I can get into a state where I'm not constantly changing back and forth or changing thread or whatever, and I just flow, I get into that flow state, and it is very meditative for me, and I come away from that feeling very zen and relaxed and at peace, and like I just did something that I know takes time and takes some level of effort, but I'm energized by it, and I'm calmer because of it.
Yeah.
The same is often true in certain forms, for us, for me at least, certain forms of kink play, but there's got to be that rhythm to it. And I don't know, because I don't know anything about anything when it comes to this, but I wonder if part of it for me is the need for a rhythm that I can predict and rely upon, if that has anything to do with the parts of me that are super anxious and don't like spontaneity and don't like change and like to just find a pattern and stick with it. Like, I don't think that's universally true for everybody who can find a flow state in a rhythm, or people who are anxious, and that's not true for everybody, but I do wonder if there's a correlation with that, like the comfort and the mindfulness of not having, oh, that was my hip popping, sorry y'all. That's what happens when you get old.
And I thought that was the chair, but
No, that was
okay.
my body. I wonder if there's something to it, if there's a comfort in it, if it's because there's a rhythm, I don't feel the need to be hyper aware and trying to second guess and predict what's going to happen.
Well, let's go into another little aspect to this here. One of the things the article talked about was how this allowed bottoms to be able to kind of put away the stress of the day.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And they did go into it more so in the sadist masochist type of thing, which they did kind of go into, which was the bulk of the article.
Sure. I think because people relate more to BDSM with pain and that kind of stuff.
But now let's flip that a little bit, because I know I have seen over the years a number of S-types. They're at work all day and they're on. Okay, they're hammering their job out and doing what they do, and they come home, they want to put that behind. I know for a number of people, the simple act of coming home, walking in the house, and putting a collar on. Is enough to bring them to that state to a certain extent. It's just the act of feeling that collar on their throat and knowing that power exchange is now there.
Yes, and I would absolutely agree with that. I think that comes down to a certain level of the mindfulness of being the sensory experience of maybe it's a collar or it's a specific action. I think it goes back to what we talked about last week, where you have to create that habit for yourself. And I think that if you can start that new habit with a little bit of mindfulness mixed in, like, okay, I am now doing this thing because this is my submissive act and it makes me feel submissive, and being very aware of how you feel and what you're doing and making those connections, I would imagine that there's something to the idea of associating an act, submissive or dominant, with that feeling of mindfulness and meditativeness, that as you develop that habit, the correlation becomes stronger. So then you get to a point of, I put the collar on and I'm kind of there. I don't think an always gonna happen kind of thing. I think it's like anything else. For a day or a week or a month, yes, you feel that consistently, and then you have an off day and your mind is just somewhere else and you can't easily make that connection again. I think it's just the nature of being a person in the world, especially now. But I think that if you're not automatically having that kind of response, there's nothing wrong with you, but I think you can learn that kind of response as well.
In my own way, I experienced that when we first got together and I was working a full-time job. When I come home at the end of the day, I don't know if you remember this, it just kind of came to me a little bit. When I came home at the end of the day, you used to undress me. And that for me was like my catalyst to let the day go.
So here's how two people can see the same thing completely differently. I was happy to do it. It was a submissive act. It's what you wanted. That was fine. I never had a connection with it.
Okay.
Which is fine. I don't have to have a connection with it. If you have the connection with it, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. But yeah, it was like, I could never get out of my head for it. It was never that sort of, and when I imagine that kind of thing, you know, undressing your partner, whether as a dominant act or a submissive act, it was never that sort of black and white, slightly airbrushed fantasy picture in my head that too much Tumblr, quite frankly, prepared me for. It never had for me, it never had like the romantic kind of energy vibe. It was I think this is an example where mindfulness would have helped me, because I could never get past the, oh shit, I don't know how to do this fucking belt buckle, and fuck, what order do I take things off in? What is because I'm coming into it going, what is the most efficient use of time, energy, and body movement here to get this done, and maybe it be a little bit sexy. And there's, you know, pulling somebody's shirt off over their head when the angles aren't quite right, not a sexy thing to me. It just looks kind of, you don't have any hair but hair goes flying funky. In our case, glasses go, because who would forget to pull the glasses off, even though I've worn them 35 years, and know that you take your glasses off most of the time when you take your shirt off, because that's just easier. Me. So I would forget to remove your glasses to take off your shirt, and if it was a pullover shirt, I'd pull it over your head and your glasses are askew. I'm like, oh fuck, this is not graceful.
So for you it was more of a stressful experience, and for me it was a way to start letting go of the day. Which
is not at all the topic of this particular episode, but is a good reminder that yes, two people can have, who are in a moment that you both consent to and want to be there, and still have completely different experiences of that same said moment. But it was also something I was happy to do for you.
Yeah.
Because it was about service and submission, and it was about doing what you wanted me to do, which I do not always have to be in the fucking zone. I can I can be my chaotic, messy, awkward self and still find joy in it and still get pleasure from it, or still be happy that I'm able to do it. But when we talk about the am I in the moment kind of thing, is this, bringing me back to another part of myself? No. For me, that tends to be very sensorial. That tends to be part of like the stuff we do in a scene. It's why sometimes in past scenes when we couldn't, like when I thought I was getting a deep tissue massage, and next thing you wanted to watch me scream and dance on my toes and have big reactions, I would be like, but where's my deep tissue massage? It wasn't that I wanted impact that was just pleasant and light and thuddy. I mean, I did, or I wouldn't have said that. But it was because that is what allows me to sink into the moment.
Gotcha.
And practice that mindfulness that they're talking about in this article. Now, can I, could I, and should I learn mindfulness in those types of scenes where you're kind of all over the place and you're ramping up the sensations and it's, not that deep tissue massage? Like, yeah, I could. Will I? I don't know. There have been times when it was deeply painful, like overwhelming, not my favorite kind of pain. And I did have those experiences where it was kind of like meditative or whatever. I think those are the times you slowly increased the intensity, because I think back to that one scene, we've referenced it multiple times. We're at 312. I was hanging on this suspension thing above my head, my arms up above my head, and it was the time that one of the times you took a long paddle and you Louisville sluggered it across my ass, and I screamed so loud they heard me in the parking lot over the music. And yet, my memory of that, now granted, I have the distance from the moment to the memory, and it gets fuzzy when you have that. Yes, it was overwhelming, seriously painful. I wouldn't have screamed otherwise, but my memory of that moment is less chaotic than scenes I clearly remember where you tortured and teased with a lot of sharp pain, or maybe the cane or whatever, and I was both begging you to stop and begging you not to stop. And that wasn't, I was in the moment, I was fully present, we were playing, we were feeding off of one another, but it wasn't that quiet mindfulness of just being in my head the way I think that particular scene where you swung like that ended. So yeah, I would almost say that there's, from my perspective, that there are multiple ways to experience mindfulness as well.
Oh yeah.
Let me take a look here. I'm looking at my notes.
Okay.
A couple of things you mentioned that I ended up saving in my notes as well, that we've already talked about, that I think we've touched on, but just in case there's more to say. That when we're, again, they are referencing scenes, and I think this is true in Power Exchange as well, just the act of being your submissive self or being your dominant self. They talk about, as a bottom, certain kink acts, or kink in general, can be an escape from higher level processing that we do as people. I will honestly say that, yes, it is the thing sometimes that shuts my mind off, if I can allow it to shut off long enough to be in the moment. I'm like, and it was easier in early days.
Yes.
It was easier when we were long distance, because when we came together, we were fully aware, hyper aware, that this was our time to be our power exchange.
It was
self.
more intense at that
It was
point.
much more intense. Early days when we lived together, that mindfulness and that ability to let the rest of the world kind of fade to the background and be in the moment was much easier to achieve. And then for tops, it's kind of the other side of the coin. We can, if submissives can let go of those daily stressors and things, work higher level processing, as they call it. For tops, it's you have to be fully present in the moment, but that is where you get back to that flow state. I had a thought and it just fell away.
Uh-oh, it was a fleeting thought.
I think there's some benefit to practicing mindfulness within your power exchange or your kink if you do not relate to any of the ways any of this has been described, and you do not see for yourself that you achieve those states even a little bit, even sometimes. I don't think you're going to achieve them all the time. I think sometimes the outside world is too damn loud and it's stuff on your mind. Like, would I love a scene tomorrow that allowed me to not think about motorcycle accidents, car accidents, money, and a few other things? Yeah, I would love that. But I'm not sure that right now in this moment I'm in a state where that could happen without me putting in the effort for it. And I think effort is kind of a strange word to use with something like meditative mindfulness, because it's not like you're supposed to be like strenuously like forcing something, because the more you force it, the less likely it is to happen.
Yeah.
But of being aware and sort of telling myself, let it go. It'll be there when you get done with this. Be in this moment. Could I benefit from that? Yeah. Is it a skill like anything else that I think we can learn? Yeah.
Well, like anything else.
Also, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That's okay. I'll pick up for you.
Thank you.
Just like subspace and top space is something we all would like to get to, but I think everyone would agree nobody gets there all the time. And it's the same thing with the mindfulness. While I think it is a good thing to be aware of, just like anything else, you're not going to get there all the time.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So,
yeah, I think I'm more mindful. I don't want to say mindful's not the right word. I prefer focus.
okay.
I like to focus.
Mm-hmm.
I get very frustrated when I can't focus, when I'm not allowed to focus. There's other things. And yet, I find it very difficult to bring that same sort of flow state focus energy to pleasurable things that I cannot describe as having a purpose. Now, not everything in this world has to have a purpose. I'm aware of that. And things that are pleasurable, that's a purpose in and of itself, is to be pleasurable, to help you relax, to just feel good, to be a source of connection and intimacy. And yes, but I am also a product. What are words? I don't know. I'm a product of a society that values productivity. Okay. And output and accomplishing things. And I know who I am. So I want to be mindful in those moments that do not have a, quote, work purpose. They have a purpose, but it's all the soft stuff. It's connection, it's intimacy, it's pleasure, it's just to fucking unwind. And yet, that is the place I struggle with it the most. And yet, when I'm working, when I'm doing a creative thing, when I'm trying to achieve a goal, leave me the hell alone so I can focus, because I want to get mindful in that way. I enjoy it. I feel better for it. I feel like it produces better outcomes. And that mindset is something that can absolutely be translated into what am I trying to say? Translated into kink. Holy crap, y'all. Holy crap. But it also reminds me that I can't do multiple things at once because focus is so important to me. I love to focus. I enjoy focusing. Why don't I enjoy it, love it, and want to do it in kinky aspects? That's a whole thing where we'd have to take a trip into my psyche about how I feel like I have to earn pleasure and I have to earn good things and I have to have deserved to have that. None of that's good. Please, if you're nodding along with me when I say that and you agree with it, please know that that's not necessarily a good thing. We don't have to earn pleasure. We don't have to earn the ability to relax and to do things that we enjoy. Like, no, we do not need to do that.
Would you agree with the thought that mindfulness, working towards mindfulness, takes practice?
Yes, I would absolutely agree.
Something that you have to, kind of exercise at and work at to achieve.
Yes. Yes, it's a skill like any other.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a little bit easier if you can go back to points where you've done it naturally without knowing you did it, and then try to reverse engineer what you did. And go, okay, what was that? What was I doing? What is it about that experience that stood out to me? What did I like about it? So that's why I can look back on those times where I've gotten into that meditative state And I know what kind of impact play it was. I know what kind of sensation I was feeling. I know what we were doing. And then for me, because I suck at this, my job would be to go, okay, what was it about that? And how can I maybe replicate it again in different circumstances? Yes, click that. Poor JB's trying to click buttons while I'm trying to talk, and I'm trying to help him click buttons, and he's trying to listen, and it's one of those days.
Yeah.
So I yeah. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. Also, it doesn't help that I haven't been able to focus. See, I freaking hate not being able to focus. I get cranky.
Yeah,
like I'm that person who's like, I can't start a thing if I can't focus on a thing, or I will procrastinate starting on a thing until the quote perfect time. And sometimes the quote perfect time, there's no such thing, and you kind of got to do stuff in between other things. And other times it's just a tool of procrastination of I'm making up that reason why I don't want to do something. But sometimes it's because I know I do my best work, and this is on a work side, when I can focus, which makes me think that some of our best kink experiences, or that kink experiences in general, are made better when I can focus on them. I know our sex life has been made better when I'm focusing on that and not making a to-do list or writing a blog post in my head at the same time. Do I have one of those kinds of minds? Yes, I do. But there are a lot of benefits to being mindful and being in the moment. There's the feeling less pain if what you don't want to feel is the pain. I mean, some of us are like, I'm here to feel the pain. I don't want to like make that kind of fade to the background. That's what I'm trying for. But if you want to handle more sensations than you have otherwise, or go longer than you sometimes do, part of that can be mindfulness. But I go back to power exchange. You want to feel your submissive headspace more? Maybe it's about practicing mindfulness. You want to be more present during sexy times? Mindfulness. I'm thinking all the ways I'm not very mindful. But yes, I do think it's a skill. I think it was a fascinating article. I like when there's a study on BDSM that is positive. It reminds me of a study that came out ages ago, and several very kind people sent me the actual study to read, where they talked about people who are into BDSM tend to have, in certain ways, either better mental health or just better recognize their own mental health, because we are just a subsection of all of humanity. And so, yes, there will be people with mental illness and, other physical illness and all kinds of stuff. But because of the skills that we apply to have healthy BDSM experiences and relationships, and because getting into BDSM often, not always, but often requires embracing parts of yourself that the rest of the world maybe can't embrace about themselves, we also tend to be more aware of our mental health and more able to speak about it and be happier and blah, 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 because we're fulfilling a part of who we are, regardless of what societal expectations are. So that was a positive one I really liked seeing. And this is a positive one I really like seeing, that there are practical applications in what we do in kink that apply to all other parts of our life, which we've said many, many times. Yes. A lot of the skills that we learn as a power exchange couple are transferable to other parts of life in the world and what we do in it. So, every time somebody wants to say, well, that's true for non-kinksters too. It's like, I know that. No shit. Okay. Because these things that we do, let's focus on the positive things that we can do as kinksters. Those positive things, good, in-depth communication, giving feedback, mindfulness in this case. Yeah. We can pick up that ability and plop it in another part of our life. Not always as easily, because in power exchange, we are, what am I trying to say? We are we've negotiated that we will do that. We are aware of our roles. We've explicitly stated most of the time our roles. And so when you take these skills and you're doing that with somebody else who understands, at least on some level, what you're trying to accomplish, it's easier. When I pick up my communication skills and apply them to my parenting life, if I don't do it with context to the kids of what my expectations are and the roles we fulfill, it is more difficult. It's a little one-sided. If I talk, I'm glad I don't have a boss. I like working for myself. But if I, as my submissive self, and before I knew I was submissive, I talked to bosses the way I talk to you, because that's kind of who I am and that's how I related to bosses and authority figures. Sometimes that worked out well with those bosses because they were respectful, decent human fucking beings, and they were fine with having somebody talk to them that way and not taking advantage of that without the negotiation and understanding our roles. And other times I got taken serious advantage of. And so the skills are transferable, but without the clear understanding that you should be developing in a power exchange, that doesn't always translate. And so it is a little bit more difficult. But if you learn how to, in this case, be mindful in kink scene, you can apply some of those things that you learn and be mindful when you're doing something else, when you're doing something purely vanilla.
Right.
And thank you, I'm a liar, for the super chat.
Well, thank you.
This has been more chaotic than I intended it to be. I was so proud of myself for having notes. And then I couldn't even be mindful in our own episode. Which just proves that we're all works in progress. And here's the downside. When you're not mindful, you get whatever the fuck this was. Oh my God. I highly recommend checking out the article linked in the places, description box on YouTube, show notes.
It's a very interesting read.
Listeners. It is, and then you can click through to the study, and you can, take a look at that if you like to nerd out on stuff like that. So yeah, is there more we can say? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Am I so chaotic right now that all of the intelligent thoughts I had yesterday while I was prepping for this episode have flown out of my brain? Yes. Yes, they have. Yes, they have. I think this article is a great article. I think if you can teach yourself some of the skills of mindfulness and apply that to parts of your power exchange and your kink, it creates better experiences. That does not negate the experiences you have where you cannot be mindful when the outside world is interfering too much. But some of my favorite scenes are the ones where everything else faded away and it was just the two of us. So
it's tough. I mean, even in just the general world, it is tough to be mindful and be in the moment. There's so many distractions. When I was doing regular craft shows prior to the pandemic, I was shocked at the number of people walking around, and they're not looking at what's around them, the events, the vendors, they're walking around looking at their phone. And they're totally missing everything that's around them. So it kind of falls into many aspects of life.
And there's a balance to be had with all of it. Like for many of us, we have entire worlds and communities and friendships and relationships built online, and so you go online because that's where your people are. And yet, yes, you can spend so much time in a digital space that you forget to look up and be present in a moment where you physically are. When that is a safe, healthy, good place that you want to be. Because I think many of us kind of understand mindfulness on that scale. How many of us, myself included, have started watching something or scrolling something online on our phone, and you've lost
down a rabbit
hours.
Hole. Yeah.
And sadly, it's not mindfulness, because most of the time you can't remember what you watched. You don't know who you were, what you were, none of that. It's not
brain candy.
It's not true mindfulness.
Yeah.
But can we get so focused on that we could even lie to ourselves and call that? Yeah. But yeah, there are times when look up and see what's around you. I've seen more relationships fall apart because we forget to be in the moment with a partner. And if you have a partner you don't want to be in the moment with, that tells you a lot. And please do something about that. Okay. But we can forget to be in the moment with our partners. Yeah. And yes, you can forget that even when you're in Power Exchange and you're very aware of your role. So yeah. So yeah, interesting article.
Yep.
Highly recommend reading it. Yeah. Clearly, I could keep going. My stomach has much to say, apparently. Sorry if that's being picked up by the mic. But I think that's enough.
I
think so.
So,
yeah.
Are we good?
Probably not.
Okay.
Keep it kinky, y'all. And we'll see you next week. Daddy.
Yes, baby girl.
Can I talk to the crickets, please?
Haven't you been talking to him for the last 45-ish minutes? Or?
And has my stomach. Both.
54 minutes.
We have a lot. We've had a lot to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
go
my
ahead.
gosh. For real, what the heck? The stomach. Our stomachs are talking to one another. I really hope the microphone's not picking that up. I also would like to apologize to anybody who this is the first time you're ever coming across us and interacting with us on the internet, because, wow, on one hand, yes, it is always like this. But on the other, this is a rougher day than we have been.
Yeah.
And I was so excited for this topic. So, bonus section stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You continue to recover from being hit by a literal fucking car.
I am. I'm pretty close to being back to what I consider normal.
Normal's a relative term.
Yeah.
You certainly are working long hours.
Yeah. Well, the weather has turned nice for Florida. We are definitely in fall for Florida.
I wore long pants twice over the weekend.
Yeah.
It was great.
And I've been soaking it up. And one day it was like 1 o'clock, and I still hadn't come in. You came out and were like, "Do you know what time it is?"
Here I'm going to be the really good submissive that you love to have, and go, "Look, you can do whatever the hell you want. I just want to let you know it's kind of late. Are you doing that on purpose?"
I just got so focused and into what I was doing. I just kept doing what I was doing.
And I'm not mad at it, okay? I'm not mad about it at all. I would say I feel like I have focused when I can, but I've had to be aware this week. So I've got to call today and see if we've got any word on can the car be fixed starting November 15th?
That was on my mind. I was going to ask you about that after we
had a plan.
finished
Don't
here
worry.
too. Yeah.
Because that's what's going on with me lately. There's always so many other things to keep up with. There's almost no space for focusing. So the 16-year-olds need rides home from school, but like we're not talking 3 o'clock in the afternoon rides. This is 10:15 in the morning because they only had one class during the day.
Yeah.
So I'm going back and forth with that, and then I'm keeping up with phone calls, and I'm keeping up with your schedule, and I'm keeping up with the 12-year-old schedule, and then I'm keeping up with my own schedule, and it's like, what is focus? I don't know. This past weekend, my mom came to town. And we spent the weekend with, as I explained last week, the sisters, my mom and my aunt. And we had a good time. Went to a bookstore. My mom was like, "Well, I'm buying my grandchildren books, and you're my child, and it's your birthday. Would you like some books?" And I was like, first I went, no, I'm fine. And then, well, that's dumb. She's offering to pay for books. Yes, please. And then I had to narrow down like the 85 I wanted to. That was painful, but I still got books.
I have to admit it. That was my favorite moment because I was asked if I wanted to go with y'all to the store. And I was like, "Thank you, but no thanks." And everybody was gone. I had the house to myself except for 2 cats and a dog. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
I have not had the house to myself in weeks, so I'm going to need all y'all to go somewhere at some point. And Giga lives in South Florida and says, "Open my windows for the first time this year and aired the house out." So did we. First of all, it stinks in here, but second of all, we don't even need the AC on. The weather is so nice outside. Please open the windows. We have not turned the AC back on since. I can't wait to see our electric bill. I know, right? This is the time of year for the electric bill. So yeah, that was good. And then while we were all together, we planned out my mom's next visit. She made it sound like she was coming for Thanksgiving. And all of the adults in the family, we would tell you we have pretty good comprehension skills. We feel like we're critical thinkers and we understand what people tell us. And we're talking to her about her next visit, and she says something about what days she would be arriving. And we were like, wait, every one of us to a person was like, wait, I thought you were coming for Thanksgiving. And she goes, no, the weekend before. And we're like, that's fine. Whenever you would like to come visit, we're fine. But that is not what any of us thought. So we're going to celebrate Thanksgiving the weekend before as a big group, which we haven't done in years and years. And then maybe not worry about much of anything on that actual Thursday.
Yeah.
The cooking will be done by then. So yeah, she's coming back, and she might be coming back in December. I'm having a minor surgery and be laid up for a little bit, which it's all fine. Don't worry, nobody panic. It's like good, but she might come back for that. I'm not gonna tell her no, because my mom did not spoil me as a kid. We didn't have anything for her to spoil me. And like, she didn't have time. We didn't have money. I was not. It was my grandmother's job to spoil me. But now that I'm an adult and I don't ask for anything from her at this point, because I learned those lessons the hard way, she wants, like, it's almost like she looks for reasons. And look, when I'm laid up on the couch recovering, I will not mind however my mom would like to spoil me. Nor will I mind however my daddy Don would like to spoil me. I'll be happy to be spoiled at that point. So if she comes for that, I'll be like, Mom, I could really use a book and a coffee. And I'm pretty sure I will get it. So, yeah, but it was a good visit. I was exhausted afterwards. Like, Monday, I had no energy.
Oh, yeah.
And I was actually ignoring text messages because I could not people anymore. And it was just them. It wasn't like it was a bunch of people I didn't know.
I mean, I truly love your family dearly. They're wonderful people. They have been great to me since we've known each other. But yeah, I mean, it was nice for them to be here, but
it was also nice for them to go home.
Yeah.
Sunday was my favorite because Sunday is the day we go to my aunt and uncle's house. So we decide when we arrive, we decide when we leave. We don't have to cook in the middle. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm here for the Sunday visit. My coffee does not taste good. Please taste my coffee. I didn't do anything funky to it. It'll taste like your coffee. Is it just me?
I think it's just you.
Oh, no, it tastes right. I don't like it. I'm going to keep drinking it, but I don't like it. What else? I think that's about it.
That's about it. I mean, I've just been really working in the shop a lot. With the accident, I did lose 3 weeks of work.
Sure.
Bad time of the year to lose 3 weeks of work. And I've just been out there trying to hit it hard and play catch up.
I think you're doing a good job.
Trying.
So, yeah, that's that, and that's us. And I'll bet money the moment we stop recording, I was, oh, there was a thing I was going to tell them. I can't remember. It'll have to wait for another time, another day, another moment.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for this week, yeah? Lola is now snoring in the background.
Yes, she is.
But did her eye crack open when I said her name? Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
But that is it for us this week, this time. Thanks for being here, listening, sitting through me losing my train of thought. How many times? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yeah, we will be back next week.
We will.
We'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye.